There's a subject that I would like to tackle. Uh, there's several subjects that I love to tackle, about liberals and all the retardation and this Jussie Smollett thing and, the no collusion with Russia thing and Trump and all that other kind of stuff. But there's one in particular because I moved back home to Virginia recently. And, I felt that after, leaving the military, leaving the government service and all that other kind of stuff, that I could move back home and maybe find out why does my hometown has been so ravaged with BS lately. And I found out why. It's because we as a society allow things to happen, like the Jussie Smollett thing. We allow people to lie. We allow people to fabricate. We allow people to just be general shitbags. Last night, while working in the bar that I work in, as a cook, I'm not ashamed of that. I collect my pension and I do something to supplement, and quite frankly, I love to cook, and that's my deal there. Being that this is a social media platform, I'm not going to say where because I don't want it to negatively reflect upon them. Should some liberal piece of shit be like, oh, well, you think, fuck you, okay? Anyway, I digress. Saw this guy who calls himself Ranger. Now, this is in Winchester, Virginia. That much I'll give you. Guy's name, as he explained to people, is Ranger. And he comes in with this hat that said Ranger on it. Kind of like that logo right there. It says Ranger on it. He's got all these hat pins on his hat. And that's when I started paying attention. All right, well, this dude's all of 5'8", 5'9". Probably weighs 300 pounds. Now me, I'm 6'3". I weigh 217 pounds. Now, that doesn't necessarily qualify me to be any kind of special anything as it pertains to the military. However, since I've left the military, I have somewhat kept myself in shape. Like that line Vince Vaughn used in the movie The Breakup, I've managed to lose weight and not gain any muscle definition. But I've managed to stay on the, not obese side of life. I managed to do that through the things, the techniques, the training that I was taught in the military. And I don't know many guys who were operators, be they Special Forces, be they Rangers, be they Force Recon, be they Navy SEALs, be they Pararescue. A couple of guys who I did meet last night who were. I haven't met any of them that have gotten so morbidly obese and out of shape as this guy. However, it wasn't his shape, it wasn't his hat. It was his overall demeanor and the pins that he had on his hat. One specifically would have been right here, and another one right here. On a Ranger tab hat. Now, in conversation, he comes out and he introduced himself to me, and he says, "Hi, I'm Ranger." Okay. My name's Philip. And he's like, "Yeah, I was a Ranger." Good for you. That was the first tipping point. He asked me if I was prior service. He asked me if I was a veteran, and I said, yes, I am. As a matter of fact, I was with the 3rd Battalion. Oh, you were Bat Boy. Now, here's the thing. In all my years in the military, the only people I ever heard refer to regimental Rangers as Bat Boys were officers, because every officer got a Ranger tab. Every officer allegedly went to Ranger school. We called it online Ranger school because that's when online was first becoming popular. or even a thing. But I never heard of it referred to. And this guy was sitting there going on about, how he did this. And then he pulls out this challenge coin. Now, for those of you who may watch this, who may have been in the military, know that a challenge coin is presented to you, typically by an officer or senior non-commissioned officer, from a unit. And it's usually a battalion, regimental level, or higher. But he pulls something out that costs $13.95 online, and he's spinning it on the bar and asked me to present him my challenge coin. Now, I am no longer in the military. I don't feel the need to carry a challenge coin with me. But if I had, he'd have been fucked, because I've got William Cohen's challenge coin. I got Donald Rumsfeld's challenge coin. In fact, if I'm not, I got Eric Shinseki's challenge coin. In fact, I don't know if it goes much higher than that other than the president and vice president, neither of which I have. But I don't carry them with me because I'm not in the military anymore. It's not a military town. That part of that chapter in my book has passed. Somewhat. But this guy is insistent upon this, so I decide, I'll entertain this for about 2 seconds. When I told him that you could buy that for $13.95 online, he got shitty with me. At which point then, I decided to bring up the fact that the hat pins he had on were all wrong. Now here's the thing. Many, 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 many people have left the regiment and gone on to other duty stations. I'm one of them. However, I would never have a Ranger hat, nor a pullover, that didn't have anything to do with the regiment. It's sacrosanct. You don't do it. Sua sponte. This guy did. Now, the first one was a unit crest for the 7th Cavalry Regiment, Gary Owen, of which I did serve a little bit of time in, and actually was a proud member of the 7th Cavalry, the 2nd Battalion, 7th Cavalry at Fort Hood, Texas, before they went over to 212. And for a short period, as a forward observer at the 4th Squadron, 7th Cavalry, /Cav, not -Cav, because they didn't know where to put me. And I had to do that in South Korea, and I had to do that shit for 15 months. Back in the 90s. But the thing is the 7th Cavalry is not something that you see on a Ranger hat. Now, that one's not as suspicious as the next one. And the next one is the Combat Action Badge. Now, I had 2 MOSs whilst in the military. First one, when I first joined up, was 19 Delta, Cavalry Scout, which is what qualified me to be in cavalry units. But then there was an investigation, there were some problems, there was some trouble, and I had to go through this whole mess of, investigation and whatnot. And basically it was settled upon that I reclassed to an 11 series. And because I was 19 Delta, I put in for Ranger School, blah, 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 blah. I ended up at the regiment. It is what it is. So at the end, my primary was 11 Bravo. Anyway, if you have ever been in the military or served in the military, or in the Army at least, you would know that the Combat Action Badge was created to make 19 Deltas, 19 Kilos, whatever the MP MOS is, things of that nature, feel better about themselves, because the 11 series guys, the infantry guys, we had something called the EIB, and then we had something called the CIB, both of which I have earned, although you only wear one. You wear the CIB because it trumps the EIB. But as a Ranger, you cannot be in the regiment unless you have an 11 series MOS. Thus, you would never be issued a Combat Action Badge. Now, we had medics with the Rangers, but they were part of the regiment, but they weren't Rangers, you know what I mean? They were qualified to wear EIB because they were part of our unit. But never on any planet in any universe would a United States Army Ranger ever proudly wear hat pin, actual metal, or otherwise, a CAB, a CAB, a combat action badge, which is a knife with a wreath around it. And there was the kind of telling point for me with this fucking asshole. He calls himself Ranger. He goes around promoting, oh, I was an Army Ranger and this and that. But when he's called out on it, he'll show you a challenge coin you can buy for $13.95. And when that fails, because he actually ran into somebody who was one. Now, I understand there's a lot of people out there that claim, that they were this and they were that. Talk about how badass they were. And talk about how fucking awesome they were. And talk about, all the fucking covert shit they did. Let me clarify something for you. As Army Rangers, everybody has probably seen the movie Black Hawk Down. I have some buddies who actually were in that engagement in Mogadishu. They don't talk about it. What we talk about is the goofy and fun shit we did downrange, stateside in Garrison. We don't go into that many covert operations. There's not a whole lot of I could tell you, but I got to kill you kind of stuff. We do combat operations. We go into places behind quote-unquote enemy lines. We report, and we observe, and occasionally we engage. And, it's what we do. But for somebody who's going to come out and be like, oh, well, I could tell you, but I got to kill you. If they're telling you that, 9 times out of 10, they're full of shit. Straight up. There are things that we have done that, yes, do qualify that. But not as many as they would like to project. And that's how you know the fakes. Ladies and gentlemen, please, for the love of God, stolen valor can get you up to a year in prison if you're obtaining tangible benefit from that. But this fucking guy, if you're ever in Winchester, Virginia, anybody who happens to watch this, and you're on the, oh my God, that looks like shit. I look like a fucking millennial. Hold on, I gotta fix that because I am not doing the faux hawk thing. My hairline is unfortunate enough as it is. But if you're ever in Winchester, Virginia, and you happen upon the Loudon Street Mall, which is a walking mall downtown, or into Piccadilly Public House, or to Brubaker's Restaurant, or Court Street Tavern, or anything, and you run into a dude who calls himself Ranger, and he's a pot-bellied pig, and you'll know who he is. Ask him this. What does sua sponte mean? And I'm going to tell you what it means. It's a Latin translation, basically, to each of their own accord. He didn't know it last night. He didn't know what FOBs he was stationed in overseas. He's too old to have received a combat action badge because that was created in like 2004. But he didn't know sua sponte, which is the Ranger motto. He didn't know his FOBs. He couldn't have even told you how many days you had to go through Ranger training. He didn't know what RIP was. Now, at his age, he should know what RIP is. They call it RASP now because I'm trying to make it sound all like Special Forces-y and shit. But he didn't even know what RIP was. RIP is the Ranger Indoctrination Program. And that's what it is. It is indoctrination. It's an indoctrination into the belief of what we went through. Ladies and gentlemen, you probably have these people in your own town. And when they come in and they're thumping their chests and they're these big, beefy, muscly, Jersey Shore looking motherfuckers, that's not typically what you see in the United States Army Rangers, Marine Force Recon, Navy SEALs, Special Forces, Delta Force. You don't, because those types of guys cannot maneuver properly in combat, nor can they shoulder the equipment and maneuver the way they're supposed to. And that is important to understand because stolen valor is a very large and in charge thing in this country. It's very real. And everybody should be educated about it. Everybody should be educated about the types of people that do these things. And if you got somebody who's in there bolstering and bluffing and this and that about themselves and what they did in war and how they killed all these people and they got these confirmed kills, they're probably pretty full of shit. Because unless you were a sniper like Chris Kyle, you probably don't have any confirmed kills. Other than one of your buddies said, "Man, you got him." I'm just saying.